Hey guys, Royce here from AQUASMITH, and today we'll talk about spearfishing techniques. I have a list here that we created, and it's a lot of techniques, and we have it sectioned to what we feel like is for beginners, intermediate, and advanced. So yeah, stay tuned, we'll run through each techniques. And for the first one, I'll be going over the beginner level. And the first technique is how to properly lay down. So I have it drawn on the whiteboard. I'll do more explanation there, so stay tuned. Alright, so we're here on the whiteboard, and you could see on the whiteboard I have two drawn stick figures, one on the top and on the bottom. And you could see the one on the top. When we come to dive down, what I notice is most of the time people make their mistakes by leaving their legs and their fins floating up. And even if you're on the bottom waiting for your fish, and if you have your legs and your fins floating up, it tends to scare the fish away. So you always want to keep your legs down, like this bottom figure here. So it's kind of like blending in. So when you're actually in touch with the seafloor, your camo wetsuit will camouflage you because it's blending in. But if you have like half of your body floating up, you can see basically here, it's not gonna work. The fish might come in, but it won't come in close enough to give you a good enough shot, so they will just spook away. And the other thing is, you can see here, when you have your snorkel in your mouth, it tends to have make bubbles come out. And that's bad. It'll cause noise or vibration underwater, and when the fish is coming in, that's what usually scares them. And here in the bottom drawing, you can see this stick figure. His feet is properly tucked down on the seafloor, and his body is closer to the seafloor with his hand on the rock or something to keep you anchored, so that you're staying put. It's like you're basically waiting for an ambush. And you can see his snorkel has no bubbles, it's not in his mouth, so that this is a perfect way to properly lay down and wait for your targeted fish. And if you're tucked in properly, like I said earlier, your wetsuit will do its job. You'll blend in on the seafloor, and it usually makes the fish come in more closer, and you'll have a good enough range to take your shot. Alright, so we're gonna move on to the next step. Alright, so next on our list for beginner levels, we have hole shooting. And this is for fishes that are either hiding inside of caves, or cracks, or crevices. And we thought about hole shooting as labeled for beginners because it's easier compared to staying down long and waiting for a fish to come, because that requires some skill. But when you're doing hole shooting, you could swim around, look for big pinnacles or ledges that might hold cracks, caves, like I mentioned, and you could just swim down, check it out, and usually they should have fish. And the reason why I mentioned earlier it's kind of easier is because once you're there, you basically found their hideout, and all you gotta do is take your time and shoot what you want to shoot, compared to laying down long and waiting for the actual fish to come. So that requires a little bit more skill. So we have hole shooting as a beginner rated level. And also next on the list we have sand dusting. I actually think this is for all divers, intermediate and advanced, because we usually all use sand dusting to bring in the fish closer. So I'll just talk about it. And you can use sand dusting, for example, if you're laying down and there's no big boulders or rocks or coral heads, something to hide you, right? So you're basically laying down, and if you have nothing that's hiding you away from your targeted fish, you could do a sand dust, stir up a cloud, and what it does is it acts as a shield. So you have your sand dust, and then you have your fish. So you're the sand cloud will be in between you and the fish, And usually when other fishes eat or big predators eat on the seafloor, they stir up a lot of sand, and that will make your targeted fish think you're having a meal on the bottom, and that usually makes them really curious and they'll come in. So they'll come in to take a closer look, but since the sand cloud is in between you guys, it'll just keep coming to check you out, and then you'll notice whether the fish is at a perfect range to take your shot. And of course when it is, you take your shot. So the sand dusting is not only to attract fish, but you can also use it as like a shield when you have no structures to hide behind. And yeah, we decided that it's also rated for beginners, but actually we all use it, intermediate and advanced divers. So yeah, that's all I got for now on beginner levels. On the next clip, we'll be shooting intermediate level, so stay tuned.